Yes, we are.
Welcome.
And welcome.
Welcome to
Welcome
Spoken
everyone
Openness.
to Spoken Openness.
This is episode number 40. Welcome. Here we are.
Welcome. Here we are,
and,
everyone.
We're going to get started here.
Yes,
I
as
think
we
with a
are speaking
simultaneously
here because this is a simultaneous
intelligent
generating
conversation.
mechanism.
It's better if you have two trains of thought at the same time.
At the same time.
If you can train your ears,
you can create a type of sync.
Yes, it's like a
you just start kind of like reading each other's thoughts through resonance. Yes.
We'll start with I stopped talking because I was trying to think of that phenomena. What's it called? Those binaural beats, bro.
Binaural beats are incredible technology.
I was trying to say this is like a binaural beat of conversation. If you have two conversations that are going on at the same time, they'll start
We actually tweaked the audio channels to have one of us go through the right ear and the other one through the left ear. And that was like very advanced live streaming technology that not a lot of people can pull off as it is. Anyway,
so should we start with a quote? We'll start with a quotey.
You want to do it or shall I do it?
You should do it. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, I'll do it.
Or inside of me.
Okay, I do both, inside and out.
Ooh.
So, starting quote in 3, 2,
1.
If names be not correct, language is not in accordance with the truth of things. If language be not in accordance with the truth of things, affairs cannot be carried on to success. When affairs cannot be carried on to success, properties and music do not flourish. If names be not correct, he says.
Yes.
Language is not in accordance with the truth of things.
Right.
And if language be not in accordance with the truth of things, affairs cannot be carried on to success. And when affairs cannot be carried on to success, properties and music do not, in fact, flourish.
Flourish.
Yeah. They do not flow rich.
They do not flow rich.
Yes, exactly.
They flow poor.
They flow poor.
Yeah.
So it all starts with trying to name things with the correct tag.
That's kind of like definitions or names. And that these things are, he's talking about truth and the connection or reality. And he's talking about what you're saying and is what you're saying reflected in the reality of the world. And if it's not, then he's talking about your affairs. So like, I guess what you're trying to accomplish, your goals, your affairs, what you're involved in, what you're trying to do, what you're doing, what you're up to. Everything that you're up to is
your
not
ends.
going. Yeah, your ends are not gonna. You're not gonna reach your ends.
Not to success, maybe to lack of success.
Correct. And also, I find it interesting. He's like, he's talking about music.
And properties.
Of
what?
What is that?
I think that needs a second word after that. Properties of, I don't know. Maybe all properties.
Yeah, he's like, if you don't define things properly, wow. He's like, if you don't define things properly, you're not going to be able to make music or own land.
Right.
What?
That's all we care about. Either make music or develop properties for different types of applications that may be technological or otherwise.
What do you think the music property thing is all about?
I think they're two different things.
Yeah.
It's just like properties may be like all forms of knowledge.
Okay, so you think it's like intellectual properties or like material possessions?
Oh, properties.
Like you're not going to succeed. You're not going to succeed if you don't have the right definitions or something.
No, but I mean, I agree on the precision of language thing. But
too.
what
I
do
don't
you
understand
think
the end too much.
what is he saying by properties? Music, I guess we can understand. Our
Get into it.
species, shall we say, really have an affinity to music, and we are
We love it.
really deeply moved by it.
Yeah, we love
And
it.
we just love it.
We
And
hear
we
a
create
tune
idols
and
out of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
properties? Can
Wait,
you
but hold on. Can
help
you
us?
finish with the music talk? With the music, just because we love it, what does it mean if we have our definitions correct? How does that? What does that have to do with the music?
Well, in order for music to flourish,
Okay,
he is saying
I've requested Mr. Answer Guy here.
he is saying
Yeah.
that in order for music to flourish,
Yes.
you need, first of all, your affairs to be carried on to success. And even before that, your language needs to be in accordance to the truth of things. And
Yeah.
for that to happen, you need to have the correct name for things.
Right.
So he's just breaking it down all the way from what word you decided to use until even if music flourishes or not. It is like maybe like the Buddhist thing quote where you move a you move a star when you pick up a flower or something like that.
Wow.
You know?
Nice.
Like this deep connection between things inside the universe
Yeah.
where nothing is meaningless or insignificant. And so he's
Got
saying
it.
that everything, even music,
Yes.
is connected to the precision of language or even the
Reality.
power of, yes, exactly, the power that language has over manifesting reality. Yeah.
So he's basically saying like, is the at the end of the quote does it say that music will flourish?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's like
Properties and music do not
properties-
flourish when these standards are not properly met.
Right. So it's like if you can't, if you're not but here's the problem that I have. I'm confused about this. Is
Yeah.
that if you are making music, and we've talked about this before, you are bypassing language. You're trying to express from something deeper that is more undefined, coming from something, as we discussed, as being, I guess, more archetypal, or in like kind of the Jungian kind of dreamscape of
I think
undefined.
I disagree.
Body. Okay, no.
This is, yeah, sure.
That's fine.
nice,
but-
of course.
But if you are creating from that place, then you're not trying to pinpoint English, or, well, not English, I mean language. You're not trying to pinpoint your definitions. You're trying to express in a way that couldn't be expressed through language. That's the whole point of the reason why you're not using language. You're using something else.
But are you not making an attempt to clearly articulate or express?
100%. It's about express,
Your-
not articulate.
I was
Articulate
using
with
them.
your
I was
language.
using. Okay. Let's say because my idea right now is that you do not transcend language when you express yourself through music, because music is by itself a form of language.
Okay, get out of here.
You think that's a stretch?
I think
also I can try to justify
Okay,
the claim, of course.
here's what I will say. Insofar as music is a type of language,
You're still creating sound. You're still
let me finish with this idea. Insofar as music is a kind of language, I would say that the relationship there is only in that both things can result in somebody understanding or absorbing someone else's conscious, the stuff of consciousness. You can transmit something. And
right. So now we're defining language to see if both music and intellectual, let's say, written and spoken language,
yes,
can be put in the same category.
right, because you said you made the claim that
did.
music is a language.
Yes.
And I think it only is a language insofar as it can transmit something from a consciousness into
In what ways it is not a language?
In what ways is it not a language? Is that it's not explicit and precise. It's vague and meaningful and very deep and can hold truths, but it's not in, like, this whole quote in my mind, it's talking about being exact with definitions. And that's very isolated to language in my mind. That is not music. Music is the opposite, and that's the whole reason that it exists.
How is it the opposite?
Both things are aligned at truth, but music is not about being specific with language and definition.
But it's a different playground of specificity.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
No, you're saying the opposite.
You're saying it's the same playground, and it's a different playground.
With core similarities is what I'm saying. So that's why I'm asking, why do you perceive that as being opposite from each other or not at all related? No. And it doesn't really matter.
I said they are related insofar as they are transmitting someone's concepts or consciousness to another consciousness. You can see it, and then you absorb what those people were trying to depict. And the similarities is that ideally they are oriented towards truth or reality. So that's as far as an
attempt for expression, right? Because I may choose to sing, or I might choose to create a sentence.
Right, and the sentence will be focused on the definitions, the language, the precise wording that is like as close as you can get to the intellectual depiction of the truth. And the art is going to be much more vague and separate from specific definitions, but speak towards that same truth, but in a different way, different playground, different.
Yeah.
You were
here. I'm sorry.
You were frozen there, and then you arrived again. I know.
I think I found a way to fix the glitch, so we can carry on. I was listening, by the way.
Anyways, all I'm talking about is like we went through the quote, and the quote is talking about definitions, and then it's like, and if you don't have your definitions right, you're not going to be able to music. And I'm like, I don't get that, because music transcends language. And this is what I would say why it's not a language. I would say you could make the argument that it's a language insofar as it's transmitting information from one consciousness to another. But it transcends language in that you can get people without speaking even any words, and they can get together and they can play music and it makes sense. It's not like nobody's like, what are we doing here? I speak a different language than you. I don't understand how to interface. It's like, no, people get it, because the understanding transcends language. That's why
it is sometimes called the universal language.
Hey, okay. But see, these are all metaphors, and they're not literally saying it's a language. And that's where I'm separating it from.
So in this, a language would it needs to have symbols and sounds.
Well, here's the thing.
That have a specific meaning.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I don't think we should try to isolate what a language is necessarily and go too crazy about that.
Agreed. Yes.
Because the point of the quote And the only reason I brought up the language thing is because the quote is saying you got to have your definitions of reality dialed in, otherwise your music isn't going to flourish. And that's where I don't get it fully, because like I just said, that instance of people from different cultures, whatever, making music together, they will disagree about definitions, even the word, because their language are different.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're. So I guess I don't understand it, and that's just my.
I guess the
lack
only
of understanding
real
of the quote or
argument.
interpretation.
So here it is.
Maybe he should have chosen his words better. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe he should have used music.
Well,
to explain
what
it to
I'm
me.
what I'm trying to do here is understand, like try to get on his side, and be like, why is he making a parallel to music? And I think
Yes.
I know why.
You're trying to understand what he's saying.
And I think if we go with the analogy of the remote control, let's say, language would be a sound pulsing technology that
Nice.
transmits meaning. And the meaning is, or it could also, no, I mean, that's why we need precise definitions, because if you have a precise definition, then the message that it's being transmitted through the sound pulse is more efficient. And let's say in the remote control analogy, we have infrared sound pulses. With the spoken language, we have variable vibratory resonance pulses. And with the music, you would have harmonic pulses and rhythmic and harmonic pulses that create an effect on a receiver. And it, in that sense, is creating, it's like maybe the same technology, the same type of technology.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. I can pull this together.
Nice. So maybe I'm not so lost after all, because we can both get in the wave.
We can both be on the wave. Here's
I mean,
how.
and I also think that rejecting this notion is a whole other official wave, and trying to really differentiate why.
Yeah.
Why we don't usually think of music as language.
Sure. Here's what I think could happen here. The definition thing is like, look, let's get off the table the fact that the way you are expressing yourself when you're speaking and when you're making music is different. All right, let's just accept that, because I think it's hard to argue that it's the same. It's just a totally different medium. It's a totally different, I would say, source of initial, or the what would I say? Maybe both are coming from the same reservoir, but the channels and the rivers, or the pipes and the filters in those pipes that are going to language versus music are different. So the process by which the reservoir of understanding, of existence, of experience, of unconsciousness, subconscious, that reservoir is going to filter out and express itself in a different way. The end result is going to be different whether you're speaking, you're writing, versus, and even those two you can separate, and that's a whole other conversation. But
yeah.
My point is, I think what this quote is trying to say is, be precise.
Yes.
And it's not about saying like you're if you get your definitions of language sorted, then for some reason all of a sudden your music is going to be more truthful, because I don't think that's true. But maybe the concept is, no, in the same way that you are getting precise about your definitions so that they relate to reality and nature and the natural world in its truth and external truth as such, insofar as there exists something that's fundamental and objective and whatever. But then it's also saying, look, do the same thing with music. Like you just said, you've got the pulsy, you've got the sounds, you've got different different mechanisms of transmitting data. Sure. So be precise. Why are you making is what you're creating, the sounds, is it just arbitrary expression of something, or is it really being clear about what the musical words are? What are the musical words? What are your musical definitions that you are using, that you're expressing through? So maybe there's a way to unify them in just by like, hey, be precise.
And even in music, precision is so important. Not only temporal precision, but precision in terms of notes. For example, there are many different ways to learn music and many different, shall we say, languages in which music can be, or maps, maybe a better word, maps, right? But any skilled musician can either make a crowd really joyful and upbeat, or really mellow and nostalgic with a simple use of minor and major chords, let's say. Yeah. And that's not even that complex, but it I guess speaks to a precision, a type of precision where you can decide to transmit a specific mood, emotion, ambience, whatever, and have that designed result. With music, which I don't know, that's pretty similar to language.
Yes. And I would also add, in the same way that in language and in certain traditions and words, they're left to have some mystery, or the purpose of the definition is lack of definition in some sense. In some sense, there's like, hey, the concept within this idea requires an unfinished definition. Because there's some mystery. In the same way that occurs in language, and sometimes it's necessary. In music, you could say that there's like in the silences, in the pauses, and also in jazz, in the incorporation of improvisation and even wrong notes, quote unquote, wrong notes. Because they can be expressed from some inner truth that when it's coming out, it's like that's more true in some sense than if they sat down and they were like, what's the perfect note? What's the perfect chord progression? It's like you only go so far, and then there is room there for something else to either be left unsaid or to naturally filter through from the reservoir that we talked about.
And I mean, just the fact that now artists of the word, let's say comedians and podcast personalities, are as famous as rock stars. I guess I'm trying to just explain to myself that the fact that music is so universal speaks to the fact that for almost all recorded history that most famous people were, expressing themselves through music, and then you can reach maybe a massive level. That of course that was like a very debatable claim, but point being, now that we have I guess that also goes along with the popularization of the internet, but languages like English and Mandarin are becoming so popular that now creators of that specific language can have like extremely massive audiences. And that, I think that we can safely say that's something that has never happened before. And and just countering that with the fact that we have so many languages in the world. I think something like 8,000, have no idea, but I think something like around 8,000 languages in the world.
Way more, I would say.
And just dropping a quick fact, the European what is the EU? European Union. Yeah, the European Union has around 1 billion euro a year costs just in translations. Which I don't know.
They should use
crazy.
Google Translate. They'll save a lot of money.
They should all be speaking English or something like that. But I don't know why. I mean, 27 members and 23 official languages.
Right.
That seems so counterproductive. Like it seems so obvious that if they were all speaking the same language, their efficiency would be off the charts compared to what they're achieving right now. And that makes me think that also in the world, that's like a great argument towards one language scenario, which I'm not saying I'm supporting.
I also think that like the level of technical accuracy of translation is getting better and it's getting more efficient. I don't think that necessarily everyone will need to know the same language in order to, in real time, have very deep and meaningful conversations. But I see your point in that at least if everybody is like the ability for everybody to be able to communicate around the world on some sort of same playing field is important. And is necessary. I forgot what I was saying. I also wanted to bring up
the best. Sorry, translation is the best enemy to precision. Translation is precision's major enemy.
Yeah, but it's also the enemy of understanding and concept. Like you can't say that there's languages that don't have words that are more that mean something very specific that in English it doesn't exist. So you can't. So there's also a massive argument to be said that by reducing all languages to be one amalgamated language of whatever, you're going to lose concepts. And I don't
think it can be done but
I did want to jump back to, you were talking about the phenomena of like podcasting, and I think this is like a different wave. But I agree that the reality that is that so many people who are making a living off of communicating and speaking and creating content of language, and that's a phenomena that's occurring rapidly and increasing in terms of increasing. I will say that there is a social and cultural element of that as well, I think, where it's like why is that happening? And partially, I think it's because people are desperate for a kind of communicating that must have been lacking or must have not been there in order for this to be such a desperately sought after avenue, you know.
Yeah.
So I think while I agree that it's testament to the powerful ability of language to draw attention, I also think that there is a reason why now, there must be reasons why now that is becoming so popular or so interesting or so, you know, why people are consuming and partially why I think we're doing this is that I think we see the value in having conversations like this, and apart from the consumption aspect of, say, long form conversations, we recognize the necessity or benefit of having long form conversations. And part of this is like, hey, everybody start having them, not just consuming them.
Nice.
So I just wanted to bring up the idea that there's something going on that is also a causal factor in the popularity of spoken word.
Of course. Yeah, many factors. Yeah. Probably safe to say that one of the biggest factor is access. Most people, more every day, more and more people have access to the technologies that allow massive consumption of, let's say, audio and video input.
But would you say that we've had more access now than we have in 2008? I think the access is pretty much the same. I was listening to podcasts back then. There was podcast platforms. YouTube was.
People are getting onboarded.
Right, but why are people being onboarded? I don't think it's because of the technology. You were early, but
most people weren't onboarded 10 years ago.
Right.
So the onboarding process is growing maybe close to exponentially.
100%. But my argument is that it's not a technological change. It's some other change that's made people be hungry for the alternative. It's not the technology. My point wasn't like, hey, everybody was doing it in 2008. My point was it was just as easy to access in 2008, 2009. Like the barrier wasn't technological, I don't think. It was maybe awareness, but it was also like why are people looking now for for the alternatives and long form conversations? Is it just that it's becoming more popular and people are like, oh, everybody listens to podcasts now, I'm going to? Or is there some sort of fundamental driving factor that is driven by, I think this is like something, this is filling a gap that I feel like needs to be filled?
So could that be a core need for outside information? But I mean, that would have to mean that need wasn't there as strong as 10 years ago, and somehow we're all increasing our necessity or curiousness towards information that's out there.
I think I think that is true. I think that there's something that was apparently filled more that now is not being filled, and maybe a portion of the reason why more people are driven towards long form conversations, maybe a part of the reason is just popularity and like pandemic, people are at home and like, what can I consume? What else is there to check out? But I also think that there is something that is driven by a need that has grown. And that seems to be different now, where people are hungry for conversation and for people working things out and for conversations that allow for a space of discourse.
Right. It might be a form of survival mechanism, a mass survival mechanism towards. Right. Yeah. There's this fancy term in behavioral science, which is cumulative social adaptation.
Nice.
And it just means that I don't have any idea what it really means, but what I understand about it is just we've been stealing each other's ideas forever. And that's the thing that has really differentiated us from other types of mammals and monkeys. And one of the main things. It's not big because you cannot only say that it's the use of tools, but it is the use of tools and copying each other's use of the tool so that we can become better at creating and using those tools.
I don't know if
and that's the one thing that has made our technology, like we're watching each other how to use the tool, and then
primates do this though. Primates do this. They copy each other. They copy humans. You've seen that video? Have you seen that picture of the primate fishing?
Yeah.
Because they saw humans doing it enough, and then they were like, monkey see, monkey do.
They won't create a fishing. They don't seem to be able to improve the tool.
They improve
that they're using over time.
They improve it. I think I agree with the concept in an intellectual term about ideas, but in terms of like actions, I think that animals are primed to see somebody do something and receive an evolutionary advantage, and then copy it and work on it. I think that is
where I'm coming from, and I'm pretty sure we can check this out to see if it's accurate. But there's an ancestor. What am I saying? Un ancestro, and a past relative of Homo sapiens.
Yes.
That they have tracked
humans.
They tracked the use of their tool for thousands of years, and they basically used the same type of sharpened rock throughout all of their.
That's our narrative.
Something like that, and like they I don't know. I saw this on some guy's TED Talk, and he was like bringing up different scenarios in which like this guys didn't actually make it to where we made it because they didn't improve upon their tool use. So I don't know, maybe it's a very simplistic way of like making us be the special species that I don't know. Because there's language, there's tool use.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
Not really a constant improvement upon each other.
Yes, but let's be honest, most people are consumption related and not creatively. Like you or I are not improving upon the silicone chips in our computer systems. We don't.
Because we don't need to. That's not a solution that we're facing. We've
outsourced the advancement protocols to certain individuals that have rapidly evolved our technology. And I think that that's the same among our ancestors. One person would have become some creative person who was like, let's try it this way. And then everybody else was like, that seems like a good idea. They're having success. Let me adopt it. And I think that there's definitely parallels within human and other non-humans, non-people.
Nice. That sounds like there's like ET races on Earth or something like that. Like the Pleiadians.
The Pleiadians.
Pleiadians.
Pleiadianos. But what I'm saying is that people are adopting the technology of podcasting for the outlet of long form conversations, consumatory, if that's a word. At least
it sounds like a word.
At least consumatory and not creativatory.
Yeah. The percentage of consumatory and creatory should be way more balanced.
Creatory is hereditary creativity.
Maybe the creatory sphere will slowly match the consumatory, hopefully.
I think that's part of what I think we are trying to achieve here is to, say, look, we're not experts, but we find value in having these long form conversations. We find it very beneficial for many different things, many different aspects of our thinking, processing, considering has been positively impacted by conversations such as this one.
Right. That's how language is, in fact, a tool for developing, understanding, exploring consciousness.
Yeah.
And the game of the gamification of the tool usage is, in fact, keeping each other in line in being precise about language and definitions. We have to try to keep the alarm or the radar pristine so that we can spot the lack of precision in our own language use and the person across the digital wormhole.
Yes, and definitions are super important. And I think that's the main. I think that's the main usable element of the quote that we've been seshing on, which is in the precision and in the definitions of like, hey, if what you're talking about and the definitions and the things you're using are detached from what seems to be observable reality, let's forget about the idea about does the reality necessarily reflect an objective, out there, substantive thing that if we weren't here to observe, it would exist eternally and whatever. Yeah. Let's just go with the practicality element of like, look, some things in reality, they happen. Time is going forward. It cannot be stopped. Yeah. Someone is like, theoretically, you're like, all right, guy. Yes. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, at least in the usability of language, its usefulness in its reflectivity to pragmatic reality. At least in that sense, there's a great advantage to being precise. Massive advantage to being precise and trying to have definitions reflect, if not that magical objective truth, at least the pragmatic truth.
Now that you mentioned time, it's just hard to explain why we're usually very, very precise about time. Yes. And we tend to agree on the language we use to express and and structured
Example?
time, and it's usually
Example, like,
yeah, the name of the language is kind of universal, and it is hours, minutes, seconds.
right, got it.
And it usually, I mean, if there's obviously more ways to measure time,
Measurements.
but we tend to agree on that one. We tend to agree on 60 seconds is a minute, 60 minutes is an hour,
Yeah. It's
etc.
it's
Pretty
good.
universal, I guess.
Yeah.
But with language and written and spoken word, I guess it's not all that easy to be on the same page about stuff. Somehow there's a major
Yeah.
disagreement on which language should be used, which dictionary people should be checking their definitions with. It's just a big
Yeah, but the
mystery.
thing about time and the measurement of time is you're not making we use that to point to an agreed upon, like we agree upon that so that we can like time things, and language is much more expansive in its function. I mean the measuring words that we use, I mean that's a part of language. It's like one of the ways that we measure things.
Absolutely.
But like
yeah.
it's very like time, it's very understandable why we use seconds and hours. I mean, it's just like it correlates to a day and all this, like it's very it makes so much sense. But when it comes to certain concepts and language, it's like, how do you prove that? It's like kind of a little bit more, it's changed over time a lot more, and society shapes definitions more in the way that it's used and in the zeitgeist and in pop culture, and like it just kind of moves around and words kind of fall to the wayside and then come back, and maybe with a different interpretation. So I think it's a lot harder to get everybody on the same page all the time with other words that are separate from, say, time measurement or measurement.
I guess that's why we need the academies and this language regulating entities with people that call themselves literary masters. That
It's on their bio. I'm a literary master.
Right, that's their most popular tag.
Yeah.
They need to have a meeting and a consensus, and then it needs to become official.
Yeah.
And then it becomes edited
Dictionary.
and printed in a dictionary, and now people kind of know that it's going that way, or rather than
At least
other
then
way.
people have a reference point where they can go, look, we don't really know, we don't need to make this up. At least if we're trying to just speak about something and come to some sort of consensus, we have somewhere we can both go and just be like, look, we're going to outsource the definitions so that we can have a conversation. Even if those definitions aren't perfect, it's like, let's just outsource this consensus. We both say, look, we're not going to try to make our own thing here. We can start with this, and then we can have a conversation about something, not about what the terms are. And I think that's very useful. But
it could also be kind of
it's not a big habit. People don't have that habit. Nobody's going around being like looking at the dictionary every 5 minutes and making sure that when somebody said hungry or, whatever, any word, they're not like, what do you really mean? What do we all mean? What do we all mean? What does it even mean to mean? It's like, man. It is interesting to think how close are we actually getting to transmitting our conscious, felt notions into somebody else's consciousness interpreted and then being like, I think I know what you mean. That's another phenomena. And there's also, I think, okay, this is a whole nother wave, and I'm going to stop here, but I think there's a conversation to be had about the fact that when you are with somebody in, let's say, physical reality, and I'm not talking about virtual reality, I'm talking about your
not VR,
your biological organisms are within a proximity, within a close proximity. You're close.
Biological entities with inside the same coordinates.
Coordinated. You guys are coordinated. You're biologically coordinated.
Yeah. Okay.
When people are biologically coordinated and they're having a conversation, you can kind of tell there's feedback that apart from visual and people give hints as to, you get a sense of if you guys are getting on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think that there's some
a lot
kind
of visual cues and non-verbal communication.
Yes. But I think separate the nonverbal, separate the verbal and the visual.
Yeah.
There's also just a general, I think, feeling in the background where you sense that there is an understanding. And I don't know what that is, and maybe it can be fully explained by auditory and visual clues or whatever. But I also think there's a conversation of there being a limited ability to get there from virtual coordinates. Coordinated.
So you're
organisms.
talking about a vibe.
VCOs.
You're talking about a...
Yeah, there's less potential for vibe when you're VCO, when you're virtually coordinated organisms.
Nice. So virtually coordinated encounters are handicapped.
Yeah.
Because information is lost.
Yeah.
And it's not only that you stop picking up certain nonverbal cues or even small facial gestures, but there's like an emotional impact that
there's
is
something
not there.
else. Yeah. And I think we've talked about this with, I've talked about this phenomena where you listen to music or you watch something or something is drastically changed when you are coordinated organisms. And you experience something at the same time. There's something more than just you pick up on the vibe. There's a vibe.
Yeah.
That changes your conscious processing and your experience. There's something there. I don't know what it is, some emergent phenomena, some background thing, some information processing that is going on. And I mean, that's a whole nother wave that we could get down about, VCO versus,
But the thing about words is that they carry with them the intention, also with the meaning. So some words can be additionally charged with emotion through the intention in the deliverance.
Yes.
And so I think that the fact that can be transmitted even through, what was it? Even
which one?
Even through digital encounters,
digital convergence.
It just
of consciousness.
I guess words are way more powerful and positive tools than we tend to consider.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if you ask a language origins expert, someone who's
Yeah.
really good at
Etymologist?
etymology, if there's a correlation between words and swords. You just change the S. It's an anagram. All you do is change the S, switch it from being at the end of the word to the beginning of the word, and you get sword instead of words. Because words can be used just like swords.
Nice.
So maybe there's a real etymological correlation between the fact that it's the word is so similar, and it kinda also.
I think you could find that out if you do a quick search. I mean, it's fun to say, but I don't know.
I just like words.
Yeah.
Are magical because they're like spells. That's why you need to learn spelling before.
Of course, yeah. You gotta. Their spell, yeah. You put a spell with words, yeah.
So I just wonder if that's just a play of words and a nice analogy to magic, or if there's an actual correlation in the source of the word, how it developed, I guess, from Greek.
I think we could easily find that out.
All right. Anyway,
the language, the potential, dude. There's so many language waves. There's the conversation about offline versus virtual convo, the ability of the convergence of consciousness and the differences in the result that could be achieved if you're virtually converging or if you're in person. And
you can be a sword man. You can be a high value ninja.
Words are violence.
Word ninja. And
Words are violence.
I don't think it's a very crazy claim to say that sometimes words can be more harmful than swords. I mean, you can
disagree.
You can obviously kill someone with a sword, but you can kill someone's soul with the right words. Sometimes, if you know what to say, in the correct way.
Yes, but one can result in the actual physical harm and death of somebody. The other one is
some people claim it's better to be dead than to be alive and dead inside. Have no idea who said that. Anyway.
Well, that guy sounds very confused, which makes me come to the originator of the quotey that we started the podcast with, which was
Mr. Confused Guy.
Mr. Confused Guy, Confucius. So Mr. Confucius
OG
gave
Chinese
us the quotey.
philosopher. You can't get any more.
What are we getting more?
What are you getting? I have no idea what I was going to say right there. All right. This is the precision we deal with.
This is the precision. Thanks for the convo. This was
Likewise.
episode 40. Next time would naturally be number 41.
41.
And
I don't think we'll be skipping 41.
No, I think we shouldn't skip 41, so that's going to be the next one.
That's going to be the next one. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for the conversation, and I look forward to it. It's fine with you?
Thank everyone. Thank yourself, and thank you.
Thank everybody. Just go around, thank everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And be grateful. Just be overall grateful.
Yes.
Why not?
Whatever you think they did, they did it. And it's good.
Mm-hmm.
They did it and it's good, and you got to thank them for it.
You got to be grateful, because gratitude is the fruit of
Gratitude
fortitude.
is the attitude.
That is the right attitude, yes.
Nice. Fortitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Fortitude through gratitude.
Fortitude is a fortunate attitude, if you ask me.
Yes, nice.
Nice.
And the present moment is a gift.
Yes.
Yes,
But
that's why it's
but
a
you're not
present.
going to get it if you don't unwrap it.
Right.
You got to do a little bit of work,
Mm-hmm.
you know? That's up to you to unwrap the gift.
Yes, in order to do that, you need to incorporate present and future into the direct presence, the felt presence of direct experience, which
Yes.
is just endless.
Being here.
Endless being here. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And just look around. Everybody, look, just everything. Just look around at everything. You could be on the street. Everybody could be punching everybody in the face.
Yeah. But
They
we're
could
not.
decide. They're not doing that.
They're not.
That's great.
I mean, it takes the exact amount of energy to be like, what is that? Oh, what is that? To be,
Oh, yeah,
whoa,
why
look
is
at
that? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It takes
Yeah.
the same amount of energy to light a candle than to curse at the darkness.
Nice.
All right.
I think that's where we should end on that. And that's a nice one. That was a very that's a candle in the dark.
That's a candle. And
So-
anyone else can, light their candle with that candle.
Everybody join us in lighting the candle of fortitude.
Propagate the light.
And propagate the light. Don't punch everybody in the face.
Don't do that.
This was not a...
That's rude. It's not
This
that
was-
bad, but it's a little rude.
We are not telling people to go punch everybody in the face. Let's just say that out.
Right. We don't
Very clearly.
endorse violence at all.
No.
No.
We endorse fortitude
Through gratitude.
through gratitude.
All right. In the right
All right,
attitude.
everybody.
Nice.
Talk
Talk
to you
later.
soon, man.
Peace.